Hey guys, it's AJ here with AJ's Vault. Now, I want to get back into doing a lot more long form content on my channel, and recently I was playing COD 5 Zombies, Doris actually, and it got me thinking, who is Call of Duty's greatest ever character? The franchise has definitely had some really iconic characters. You've got Sergeant Foley, Soap, Price, the OG versions of course, Mason, Woods, and even characters like Ethan and Riley from Infinite Warfare I thought were really good. And you even have some iconic villains as well, like Makarov, Shepard and Menendez. But in this video I want to focus on one character in particular, and that is Viktor Reznov. I'm going to look at some gameplay moments, breakdown of character traits, and why I think he is the greatest character Call of Duty has ever had. So let's get right into it. So firstly, looking at Reznov's backstory. A good backstory helps us to build connection with a character and reveals what motivates them and why they act and carry themselves in the way that we do. We first see Reznov in Mission 4 of World at War, Vendetta, where he helps lead Dmitry Petrenko out of the Fountain Massacre. It's this scene that starts Reznov's desire for revenge against the invading German army. A few years later we return in Their Land, Their Blood, where Reznov rescues Petrenko and eventually leads him throughout Germany, and at the end placing the Soviet flag on top of the Reichstag. In Black Ops 1 we see Reznov is imprisoned in Vorkuta with Mason and eventually sacrifices himself to free Mason from the prison. Throughout flashback scenes in Project Nova we learn of Reznov's hatred of Dragovich and Kravchenko due to them leaving him and his men for dead in the fountain scene before. Although since the game has come out we do know that Reznov did survive. He appears in several scenes alongside Mason, but actually is a hallucination due to Mason's brainwashing. I like characters who aren't perfect in any way. They give you something to connect with, something that creates interest and intrigue. And Reznov has several character traits that definitely form this imperfect character. Firstly is loyalty. Reznov is fiercely loyal to those he considers as friends. Look at Dmitry Petrenko for example. Saves him in the fountain, saves him again in Their Land, Their Blood, and even allows Dmitry, who's inferior in rank, to dictate the path of that mission. Dmitry is praised for being central to the Soviet war effort.
As long as he lives, the heart of this army cannot be broken. He makes us all proud.
And Reznov even gives him the honor of planting the flag on top of the Reichstag, which is a massive honor to give someone else.
The honor should be yours.
And now moving on to Mason. Reznov was willing to sacrifice himself to get Mason out of Vorkuta.
Come on! Step 8, Reznov! Freedom! For you, Mason! Not for me! Reznov!
Although we now know that Reznov did survive, Mason wouldn't have known this at the time. Within Vorkuta, Reznov even justifies Mason's presence to the other prisoners.
Reznov, you sure can trust this American?
With my life. He and us are not so different. We are all soldiers without an army, betrayed, forgotten, abandoned. In Vorkuta, we are all brothers.
And even praises him for being the architect of the Vorkuta riot.
See how
Now we can see that Reznov definitely has a strong aspect of loyalty, but as we're going to discuss shortly, some of that loyalty is underpinned by other motivations. There seems to be something else at play with Reznov. The loyalty is not as straightforward as it may seem. Vengeance and brutality are also core aspects of Reznov's character, initially coming about after being left for dead in the fountain and seeing the destruction of his homeland by the German army. He spares no quarter for any German soldiers that are attempting to surrender. Check out this quote from Eviction.
these men are trying to surrender! Look around you, Cherno. Do you think these men will be denied their revenge? That comes only two ways. Fast or slow. Dmitry, it is your choice. should learn from Dmitri. He understands the nature of mercy.
Even though the Germans were surrendering, he displays a more brutal view, seeing their deaths as mercy. His thirst for vengeance won't allow him to accept an enemy's plea for surrender. And he also directly references the Soviet army's revenge in Heart of the Reich.
Our flag flies over the city. Our enemies' defeat and humiliation will be beyond question. Our vengeance will be complete.
And here's a few more quotes just to kind of really hammer home this idea of how brutal and how vengeful Reznov can be.
Shoot him in the back! The front! Stand here! Whatever you need! Just so long as they are dead! Good! Now take a closer look at those rats on the horizon! They will be the first to burn this day!
For Germany. They die for Germany. Building by building, room by room, one rat at a time.
In Black Ops 1, the aspect of vengeance is developed further with flashbacks in Project Nova, where Reznov mentions the following.
What happened in Stalingrad between you and Dragovich?
When the German occupation began, he and his lapdog, Krachenko, left my men and I hopelessly outnumbered. Promises of reinforcements were made, but not kept. Dragovich and Krachenko are opportunists, manipulators. They are not to be trusted, Dmitri.
He despises Dragovich and his men for the Fountain Massacre and ruthlessly pursues his revenge, even willing to risk Mason in the process. The drive for vengeance is a result of him feeling wronged, and this manifests in his brutal nature with how he treats his enemies. Reznov also displays aspects of narcissistic behavior. In Vorkuta, Reznov interrupts Nova 6 brainwashing and inserts his own with the mission to kill Dragovich, Kravchenko and Steiner. I'm sure you've heard some variation of this quote throughout the game. However, I don't believe Reznov's primary motive was to rescue Mason. Instead, it was to exact his revenge on those three. He realizes that he can no longer be the one to stop them, and Mason, who's younger, sharper, and has the backing of his government, is the one to do so. You have to remember at this point Reznov's been thrown in the gulag, he's got the backing of no political party or government whatsoever. And in a way, Reznov kind of states this directly. In the Mason and Reznov half of Rebirth, Reznov, quote unquote, says the following.
I do not care about no one. My name is Viktor Reznov. And I will have my revenge.
Now in the second half, from Hudson and Weaver's perspective, we can see that it was actually Mason who said,
"My name is Viktor Reznov, and I will have my revenge!"
Mason, no!
The brainwashing is so strong that Mason believed himself to be Reznov. So I don't think it's wrong to say that the statement here about him being Viktor Reznov is really an extension of Reznov's intent. The statement about Nova 6 is an extension of that as well. He's willing to exploit and manipulate his own friend in pursuit of his goals, his own personal revenge. Another aspect of the narcissistic behavior here is the lack of empathy. Reznov definitely displays this when we talk about Chernov from World at War. In Their Land, Their Blood, he refuses to let Chernov rest.
Of the tanks. You have earned the rest. Chernov, you have not. You won.
In Ring of Steel, Chernov points out gunfire coming from the asylum, and Reznov says this. In Eviction, Chernov and some of the other soldiers are struggling to move through the collapsed buildings, and Reznov just kind of coldly goes,
I can barely see. Come play. I can hardly breathe. Just keep low. In Stalingrad, Dmitri and I go through many smoke-filled buildings. Do you hear him complaining?
And realistically, there's just no need for this. He could have just simply said, just keep low and you'll be okay. Instead, he's kind of pushed the other soldiers down to almost lift Dmitri up when there's just simply no need for that. And when we come to talk of Chernov, the biggest aspect of that character is his diary. Chernov is berated for seemingly not wanting to kill for his country. Check out the following quotes.
Which do you think will lead us home? Writing about this war or fighting it? No one will ever read this! If you lack the stomach to kill for your country, at least show me that you are willing to die for it!
It seems to me that Reznov never really cared for Chernov as much as Dmitri or Mason, as we find out in Black Ops 1. It's almost as if he can't seem to understand why a younger soldier, and I say younger because we do first see him in Their Land, Their Blood, doesn't have the same level of drive and desire for revenge. He never spoke like that to Dmitri or Mason at all. Throughout the games we definitely see Reznov undergoing a change in character. In World at War he's more of an obedient soldier that's listening to orders and leading his men into battle. However, in Black Ops 1, he's someone that at least appears to want to cross Cold War boundaries in order to exact his revenge. Even though he was a hallucination, due to what we've already mentioned, the hallucinations really are an extension of Reznov himself, and given the fact that he has a strong dislike for Dragovich, it's understandable that he probably would end up betraying his country. Even within World at War himself, Reznov goes from this sort of cold-blooded treatment of Chernov to eventually feeling sorry for him and mournful for him. So I thought that was an interesting little side note. And in Black Ops 1, we definitely see the way Reznov's backstory links into his evolution. That betrayal that he felt in the fountain tests his loyalty. It creates a conundrum for Reznov which breaks it. He's no longer willing to serve the country he once loved.
At that moment, every fiber of my being yearned to put an end to his wretched life. But I was a soldier then. I still believed in orders.
Now notice in this quote how he says believed in past tense. He has to change, otherwise he would end up being a pawn in Dragovich's game. He'd be used in some way to further the goal of getting Nova 6 out there. Another interesting point when it comes to evolution is that Reznov also grows with the games, matching their themes and settings. World at War is often a gritty and quite dark depiction of war. Reznov mirrors this in his thirst for vengeance and brutality. However, Black Ops 1 takes a more psychological aspect, following the real-life experiments of MK Ultra from the American government. And Reznov definitely mirrors this, engaging in the mind control and the manipulation. So we can definitely see from this that Reznov has undergone a change from World at War to Black Ops 1. Another interesting part of Reznov here is that the developers use his mission to teach the player how to snipe. In Vendetta, he basically acts as your tips and tricks guide on sniping. He teaches you the importance of sound as a distraction.
Wait until the bombers are directly overhead. The sound of the engines will drown out your shot.
Stressing the need for patience and timing.
Sniping your enemy is like hunting any other animal. Fire at the wrong moment and your chance will be forever lost.
And the use of decoys to give yourself a better position to shoot.
I'm going to draw his fire again. Get ready to take him out. Good hunting. The patrols will surely have heard those shots. We need to get moving.
Now, although not terribly useful throughout the rest of the game, the mission was memorable enough to stick with us. When I'm playing games like Battlefield or Sniper Elite, I actually find myself remembering Reznov's quotes, and I do find it helpful. Now, I was wondering, do any of you guys have something similar? Is there a quote or a phrase from a game that stuck with you into other games, even games of different genres? And this is why I think Reznov is definitely the greatest character that the Call of Duty franchise has had. As the player, you are given this moral conflict because there's some aspects of the character that you want to support, that you like, such as the loyalty, the sort of big, motivating, grandstanding speeches. But there are others such as the manipulation, the narcissism, the vengeance, and the willingness to even use his own friends to further his goals that you just can't seem to support. And that's the video, guys. Let me know if there are any other characters that you think are on that level, anything I might have missed, and if you'd like to see anything similar in the future. I'm definitely going to be releasing a lot more long form content soon, so please keep an eye out for that. And don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. It really helps the channel to grow. All I can say is thank you so much for watching, guys. Hope you all have a lovely rest of your day, and peace out.